Welcome, and let the world grow soft and quiet around you. As your breathing slows, all on its own, imagine drifting gently outward from the Earth, past the warm inner worlds and the great ring giants, out toward the cold and distant blue edge of everything the sun still holds. Out there, in the deep and quiet dark, a single sapphire world named Neptune turns slowly through the endless night, the last of the sun's great planets, wrapped in wind and silence. Tonight we will drift out to meet it, one gentle fact at a time, all the way to the far blue frontier of the solar system. There is nothing at all you need to hold on to now. Just breathe and let go, and welcome back to Beyond the Stars. The first fact is that Neptune is the eighth and farthest of the major planets, the last great world in the Sun's family, drifting far out in the cold and quiet dark where sunlight has grown faint and thin. Beyond it lie only the small icy bodies of the outer reaches, so that Neptune stands, in a sense, at the true frontier of the classical solar system. It is a giant world, wrapped in deep blue, turning slowly through a night so far from home that the sun itself is little more than a bright and distant star, a serene and lonely sentinel at the edge of everything the sun still gently holds. The second fact is that Neptune belongs to a special family of worlds that astronomers call the ice giants, a kind of planet quite different from the small rocky worlds like our Earth, and different too from the great gas giants Jupiter and Saturn. It is made largely of what scientists call ices, heavier substances such as water and ammonia and methane, gathered in enormous quantity around a modest rocky heart. There are only two ice giants known in all the Sun's realm, Neptune and its near twin Uranus, two deep, cold, mysterious worlds drifting together in the far outer dark, quietly keeping their ancient secrets. The third fact is that Neptune is named after the Roman god of the sea, a fitting name for a world of such a deep and oceanic blue, glowing softly like still water in the dark. The ancients could never have seen it, for it is far too faint for the unaided eye, and so its name was given only much later, after telescopes and careful mathematics finally revealed it. Yet the choice feels strangely right, this distant sapphire world named for the vast and quiet sea. A fitting title for a planet wrapped, from pole to pole, in a color so much like the deep and gentle ocean of our own small world. The fourth fact is that Neptune shines with the deepest, richest blue of any planet in the Sun's family, a soft and luminous azure far more vivid than the paler blue-green of its twin Uranus. It is this gentle, glowing color, more than anything else, that makes Neptune so beautiful to behold, a serene blue marble hanging alone in the blackness. The blue does not come from any ocean, for Neptune has no surface of water at all. It comes instead from the very air of the planet, from gases high in its atmosphere that quietly drink in the red light of the sun and let only the calm blue return. The fifth fact is that since the world Pluto was gently reclassified as a dwarf planet in the year 2006, Neptune has held the title of the outermost planet of them all, the last of the 8 great worlds that circle our sun. For a stretch of years, Pluto's tilted path had actually carried it inside Neptune's orbit, making Neptune briefly the farthest, and then not. But now the matter is settled, and Neptune reigns alone at the edge, the final planet, beyond which lie only the small frozen wanderers of the deep, and then the true and open dark between the stars. The sixth fact is that Neptune can never be seen with the unaided human eye, no matter how clear and dark the night, for it lies so impossibly far away that its light reaches us faint and dim. It glows at only about the 7th or 8th magnitude, well below the faintest star that human sight can catch. To find it at all, one needs a telescope, or at the very least a good pair of binoculars, and even then it appears only as a tiny, quiet blue-green point, a small and gentle spark easily mistaken for a distant star, drifting slowly against the fixed and ancient patterns of the sky. The The seventh fact is that through even a large telescope, Neptune shows itself as little more than a small, featureless blue-green disk, a soft and tiny dot of color that gives away almost nothing of its true nature. It is so far away that for most of history we could learn very little about it from the Earth at all. Only with the coming of great modern telescopes, and above all with the visit of a single spacecraft, did the distant world begin to reveal its storms and its moons and its rings. Until then, it remained a quiet mystery, a faint blue point that patiently kept its secrets across the vast and empty dark. The eighth fact is that Neptune and its neighbor Uranus are so alike in size that they are often called near twins, two ice giants cut from much the same cloth, each roughly 4 times the width of our Earth. They are similar in their makeup too, both built largely of icy materials around small rocky cores, both wrapped in deep atmospheres of hydrogen and helium and methane. And yet, for all their likeness, they are not the same. Neptune is the deeper blue, the stormier, the more restless of the two, as though the more distant world had somehow kept more of an inner fire, burning quietly on, so very far from the warmth of the sun. The ninth fact is that though Neptune is very slightly smaller than Uranus in width, it is in fact the more massive of the two, holding more material packed into its deep blue sphere. Neptune weighs a little more than 17 times as much as our whole Earth, making it the most massive of the two ice giants, and the third most massive planet in all the Sun's realm. It is denser and heavier, and more tightly gathered than its paler twin. A compact and weighty world, its great mass hidden quietly beneath a serene and gentle face of blue, turning slowly in the far and frozen dark. The 10th fact is that a single year on Neptune, one full journey around the distant Sun, takes almost 165 of our Earth years to complete. So slow and so vast is its great orbit that a person who lived an entire long human life on Neptune would never once see the planet return to where it began. Since its discovery in the year 1846, Neptune has, in all that time, gone around the Sun only a single time, finishing its first observed orbit in the year 2011. One long, patient, unhurried lap of the Sun, spanning nearly the whole of modern history. The 11th fact is that Neptune lies at a truly staggering distance from the Sun, some 4.5 billion kilometers out into the cold, about 30 times farther from our star than the Earth is. At that immense remove, the Sun appears as little more than a very bright star, a brilliant point of light too small to show any disk at all. The gentle warmth we feel on a summer's day simply does not reach so far. Out there, the sunlight is nearly 1,000 times fainter than it is here, and the world turns in a perpetual, tranquil, deep blue twilight, cold beyond all earthly reckoning. The 12th fact is that Neptune is one of the 4 giant planets of the outer solar system, the great worlds that lie far beyond the small rocky planets like our own. First come mighty Jupiter and golden Saturn, the 2 gas giants, and then, farther still, the 2 ice giants, Uranus and Neptune, drifting in the deep cold at the outer edge. Together, these 4 giants hold nearly all the material of the planets, dwarfing the little rocky worlds huddled near the warmth of the Sun. And of them all, Neptune is the last and the most distant, the farthest great world before the endless dark begins. The 13th fact is that Neptune, like the other giant planets, has no solid surface at all upon which one could ever stand, no ground, no shore, no firm place to rest a foot. Instead, its deep blue atmosphere simply grows thicker and denser and warmer as one descends, the gases slowly giving way to strange, hot, fluid layers, and those in turn to a dense and exotic interior. There is no clear line where the air ends and the planet begins, only a gentle, gradual deepening, from the cold blue clouds at the top down into crushing pressures and hidden heat far below, where nothing we know could ever survive. The 14th fact is that out at Neptune's great distance, The light of the sun is nearly 900 times fainter than the sunlight we know here on Earth. A soft and gentle glow rather than a warming blaze, noon on Neptune would look to us like a deep and quiet twilight, the sun a dazzling but tiny point in a dark sky. And yet, faint as it is, that distant light is still enough to paint the planet in its deep and lovely blue. A reminder that even at the far frozen edge of the sun's realm, our star still reaches out, gently, to touch and to color the most distant of its children. The 15th fact is that the ancient symbol for Neptune is the Triton, the three-pronged spear of the sea god after whom the planet is named, a graceful mark that astronomers still use today. It is a fitting emblem for so oceanic a world, a simple sign standing for the deep blue giant far out in the dark. Each of the planets carries such a symbol, a small piece of old mythology woven quietly into the language of modern science, and Neptune's trident, elegant and spare, seems to capture something of the calm, deep, watery beauty of the most distant of the great worlds. The 16th fact is that Neptune is circled by a small family of moons, at least 14 of them known so far, ranging from one large and remarkable world down to tiny dark specks only a few kilometers across. Most are small and faint and were discovered only recently, drifting quietly in the deep gloom around their giant parent. But one among them, the great moon Triton, stands utterly apart, a world so strange and so beautiful that it is a wonder in its own right. And so Neptune drifts through the dark not alone, but attended by a quiet retinue of moons, each one a small frozen companion in the endless night. The 17th fact is that Neptune, like all four of the giant planets, is encircled by a system of rings. Though its rings are faint and dark and easily missed, nothing at all like the bright and glorious rings of Saturn. They are thin and delicate, made of dark, dusty material, and for a long time no one was even certain they existed. Only when a spacecraft finally drew near were they confirmed at last, a set of soft, shadowy rings looped around the deep blue world. Quiet, ghostly bands of dust, drifting almost invisibly in the darkness around their distant, sapphire planet. The 18th fact is that Neptune is a world of the wildest weather in all the solar system, home to the fastest winds ever measured on any planet, screaming through its blue skies at astonishing speeds. It is a strange and wonderful thing, for Neptune lies so far from the sun that one might expect it to be calm and still and frozen. Instead, its atmosphere roars with tremendous storms and racing clouds, a restless, dynamic world, far more active than its quiet distance would ever suggest, as though some hidden inner engine kept its deep blue air forever in motion. The 19th fact is that Neptune was discovered on the 23rd of September in the year 1846, making it the most recently found of all the 8 great planets, unlike the worlds known since ancient times, which any watchful eye could see. Neptune was hidden far too deep in the dark to be noticed by chance. Its discovery was a triumph of patient thought and careful mathematics, one of the great moments in the history of astronomy. The very first time a new world was found not by simply looking up at the sky, but by first reasoning out on paper exactly where it had to be. The 20th fact is that Neptune marks the outer edge of the classical solar system, the last of the great planets before the realm of the sun gives way to the deep and open dark. Beyond it lies the Kuiper Belt, a vast ring of small icy worlds, and then the even more distant and mysterious reaches where the sun's grip slowly fades. In a sense, to reach Neptune is to stand at a threshold, at the farthest shore of the familiar, and to gaze outward from there is to look into the true frozen wilderness beyond the planets, where our small warm sun is only one gentle star among countless others. The 21st fact is that Neptune holds a unique and remarkable place in the story of astronomy, for it is the only planet in all the sun's family that was found first by mathematics, and only afterward by the eye. The other worlds were all discovered simply by looking, by noticing a wandering point of light in the night sky. But Neptune's existence was worked out on paper, its position calculated from numbers alone, before anyone ever turned a telescope to the spot. It was, in the truest sense, a world discovered by pure thought, a planet found first in the human mind, and only then confirmed among the stars. The 22nd fact is that the trail that led to Neptune began with a puzzle in the movements of the planet Uranus, the world that had been discovered some 60 years before. Astronomers noticed that Uranus did not quite follow the path their calculations predicted. It drifted a little ahead of where it should be, and then a little behind. Something unseen seemed to be tugging at it, gently pulling it off its expected course. And slowly the daring idea took hold that there might be another, undiscovered planet out beyond Uranus, whose hidden gravity was quietly disturbing its motion through the dark. The 23rd fact is that in France, a brilliant mathematician named Urbain Le Verrier took up the great puzzle of Uranus, working through vast and painstaking calculations to find the hidden world that must be tugging upon it. With nothing but pen and paper and an unshakable faith in the laws of gravity, he reasoned out where the unseen planet had to lie, how massive it must be, and where in the sky it should be found. It was a labor of extraordinary patience and skill, a search carried out entirely in the mind, reaching out across billions of kilometers of dark to a world no one had ever seen. The 24th fact is that at almost the very same time, and quite independently, a young Englishman named Johann Galle Adams was working through the same great puzzle, arriving at much the same answer. Across the sea from Le Verrier, unaware of the other's labors, Adams too calculated where the hidden planet must lie. It is one of the strange and beautiful coincidences of history that two gifted minds, working alone and apart, should both reason their way to the same distant, undiscovered world. And today they are remembered together, the two quiet mathematicians who found a planet by thought alone before any eye had glimpsed it. The 25th fact is that when Le Verrier had finished his great calculation, he sent his predicted position to an astronomer he trusted to search for it, Johann Galle, at the observatory in Berlin. He wrote out, in effect, precise directions to a planet, telling exactly where in the sky to point the telescope. It was a bold and astonishing thing to ask, to search the vast dark for a world that no one had ever seen, guided by nothing but a page of numbers. And yet Le Verrier's faith in his mathematics was so complete that he was certain the planet would be found waiting there, exactly where he said. The 26th fact is that on the very night that Johann Galle received Le Verrier's letter, the 23rd of September in 1846, he turned his telescope to the predicted spot and began to search, working with a young assistant named Heinrich d'Arrest. He compared the stars he saw against a careful star map. And there, almost at once, within a single degree of where Le Verrier had said it would be, they found a faint point of light that no map showed. A new star that was not a star at all, but the distant blue world of Neptune, revealed to human eyes for the very first time. The 27th fact is that the discovery of Neptune, on that September night in 1846, was hailed as one of the greatest triumphs in the whole history of science, a stunning proof of the power of human reason. Here was a world found not by chance, but by prediction, its very existence calculated in advance from the laws of gravity. It showed, as nothing had before, that the same simple laws governing a falling apple could reach out and reveal an entire hidden planet billions of kilometers away. A moment that filled astronomers with wonder and quietly reshaped how humankind understood its place among the stars. The 28th fact is that the finding of Neptune was very nearly the same night as it was, for the astronomers in Berlin were able to search so quickly only because they happened to possess a fresh and accurate star map of that region of the sky. Without that new chart, they could never have told the strange point of light from the countless true stars around it. As it was, they compared the sky to the map, saw one point that did not belong, and there was the planet, a discovery that turned, in part, on the quiet and patient work of the mapmakers who had charted those faint stars before. The 29th fact is that the very next night after its discovery, the astronomers watched again and saw that the faint new point of light had shifted, ever so slightly, against the fixed stars around it. That gentle movement was the final proof, for stars do not wander, but planets do. Only a world orbiting the sun could drift so, night by night, across the background of the heavens. And so, within a single day, the new object was confirmed beyond all doubt to be a planet, the eighth great world of the sun's family, found exactly where a page of mathematics had promised it would be. The 30th fact is that in the years that followed, a gentle quarrel arose over who truly deserved the credit for Neptune's discovery. The Frenchman Verrier or the Englishman Adams. National pride ran high, and each country wished to claim the triumph for its own. In time, a kinder view prevailed, and history came to honor both men together, two independent minds who had each found the planet by thought alone. And with them stands Johann Galle, the patient observer who first laid eyes upon it, so that the discovery of Neptune is remembered now not as one person's glory, but as a quiet triumph shared. The 31st fact is that it is a curious truth that Neptune had actually been seen long before it was ever recognized as a planet, glimpsed and recorded by earlier astronomers who never knew what they were looking at. The great Galileo himself, more than 2 centuries before, had drawn it in his notebooks as a faint star near Jupiter, and had even once noted that it seemed to move. But he did not pursue the mystery, and the moment passed. And so Neptune waited, unrecognized, quietly hiding in plain sight among the stars, for more than 200 years before mathematics finally called it by its name. The 32nd fact is that the prediction and discovery of Neptune stands to this day as one of the most beautiful demonstrations of the power of Isaac Newton's law of gravity, the simple rule that governs how all masses pull upon one another, for it was that single, elegant law, applied with great care to the wandering of Uranus, that pointed unerringly to an entire unseen world. That such a law, first written down to describe falling objects and orbiting moons, could reach out and reveal a hidden planet, seemed almost miraculous, a quiet testament to the deep and hidden order that runs, gently, through all the workings of the cosmos. The 33rd fact is that once Neptune had been found, astronomers hurried to study it, and within just 17 days of its discovery, its largest moon, the great world Triton, was spotted as well. An English astronomer named William Lassell, using his own fine telescope, glimpsed the faint point of light circling the new planet. So it was that Neptune arrived in our knowledge not alone, but almost at once with a companion. The giant blue world and its remarkable moon revealed to us within a matter of weeks, 2 distant wonders emerging together from the long darkness in which they had always turned. The 34th fact is that for a long while after its discovery, Neptune was known by several different proposed names before the sea god's name at last won out. Verrier himself, for a time, wished to call the new world by his own name, and others suggested different titles drawn from mythology. But the name Neptune, god of the sea, was soon proposed and gradually embraced, fitting so well the deep oceanic blue of the distant planet, and it took its quiet place at the end of the line of worlds named for the old Roman gods, the last and most distant of the classical planets. The 35th fact is that the story of Neptune's discovery changed forever how astronomers thought about the solar system, for it proved that new worlds could be found by reason as well as by chance. Emboldened, some began to wonder whether yet another planet, farther still, might be tugging at Neptune and Uranus in turn. That long search for a distant world would eventually lead, many decades later, to the finding of Pluto, and so the discovery of Neptune was not only a triumph in itself, but the opening of a new way of seeing, a new confidence that the dark held more worlds still waiting to be found. The 36th fact is that the prediction of Neptune was so precise that when Galle first found it, the planet lay less than a single degree from the spot Verrier had calculated, a width in the sky no greater than about twice the full moon. To reach out across billions of kilometers of empty dark and place a planet so exactly, with nothing but numbers, was a feat almost beyond belief. It remains, even now, one of the finest examples of prediction in all of science. A moment when the human mind, working alone, pointed into the void and said, "There, a world will be waiting," and a world was. The 37th fact is that, in truth, the calculations that found Neptune were a little fortunate as well as brilliant, for the mathematicians had made certain guesses about the planet's distance that were not quite right. By a happy accident, their errors happened to cancel out in just the right way, so that their predicted position was far more accurate than it strictly should have been. Yet this does not lessen the achievement. For the core of it, the reasoning from Uranus to a hidden world, was entirely sound. A reminder that even the greatest discoveries often carry within them a quiet grace of good fortune, gently woven through the labor. The 38th fact is that the discovery of Neptune gave a name and a face to the 8th planet, but it took a very long time after that for us to learn what the world was truly like. For nearly a century and a half, Neptune remained little more than a faint blue dot, its storms and rings and moons quite hidden from our distant view. Everything we knew came from the barest glimmers of light gathered across billions of kilometers, and it would be many long generations before a single small spacecraft finally journeyed out to see the distant world up close and show us at last its true and living face. The 39th fact is that Neptune's discovery in 1846 means that, in the whole long history of humankind, we have known this world for only a very short time, a mere blink against the ages. The other bright planets have been watched and wondered at since the dawn of civilization, named by countless ancient peoples. But Neptune came to us late, a modern discovery, found only after telescopes and mathematics had matured, a reminder that even now, so recently, the map of our own solar system was still being drawn, and that the dark around us may yet hold more quiet worlds we have not learned to see. The 40th fact is that the finding of Neptune completed, in a sense, the classical picture of the solar system, filling in the last of the great planets that circle our sun. From the small rocky worlds near the warmth, out through the mighty gas giants, to the two distant ice giants at the frozen edge, the family of major worlds was, at last, fully known. Everything found beyond Neptune since the small icy bodies of the outer dark has been of a different and lesser kind. And so, with Neptune, the role of the great planets was quietly finished, and the outer boundary of the Sun's realm was gently drawn at last. The 41st fact is that Neptune orbits the Sun at an average distance of about 30 times that of the Earth, a measure astronomers describe as roughly 30 astronomical units. 1 astronomical unit is simply the distance from the Earth to the Sun, and so Neptune lies 30 of those vast lengths away, out in the deep cold. The number is easy to say and almost impossible to truly feel, for it means a gulf of some 4.5 billion kilometers. A distance so great that light itself, the swiftest thing there is, needs more than 4 hours to cross it from the Sun out to the lonely blue world. The 42nd fact is that a single year on Neptune, one full circuit of the Sun, lasts about 165 of our Earth years, an almost unimaginable span of time. A child born on the day of Neptune's discovery would have had to live nearly 165 years to see the planet return to that same place in its orbit. In all of recorded human history, Neptune has completed only a handful of orbits around the Sun, a world moving so slowly, so patiently, through the dark that a single one of its years is longer than most of the nations and empires of the Earth have stood. The 43rd fact is that Neptune finished its very first full orbit since its discovery in the year 2011, returning at last to the point in the sky where Galle had first glimpsed it in 1846. After 165 long Earth years, the distant world had completed just a single lap of the Sun. Astronomers marked the moment with quiet wonder, for it was the first time humankind had ever watched Neptune go once fully around. A single Neptunian birthday, spanning nearly the entire age of modern astronomy, from the era of gaslight all the way to our own. The 44th fact is that though Neptune's year is enormously long, its day is surprisingly short, for the great planet spins on its axis once in only about 16 hours, so while it takes nearly 165 Earth years to circle the Sun just once, it turns round on itself far faster than the Earth does. This swift spin, in a world so vast, helps to stir its deep atmosphere into bands and storms. A strange rhythm of time, where a single year holds many tens of thousands of these short, quick days, each one a brief blue twilight turning past in the far and frozen dark. The 45th fact is that Neptune's orbit around the Sun is very nearly a perfect circle, more circular than the paths of most of the other planets. It does not swing dramatically closer to the Sun and then far away, as some worlds do, but keeps to a smooth and steady distance throughout its long journey. This means that Neptune's great distance, and its deep cold, stay much the same all through its year. A serene and unchanging remoteness, the world gliding gently along its vast circular path with a calm and quiet constancy, never drawing near enough to the Sun to feel much more of its warmth. The 46th fact is that for a stretch of about 20 years between 1979 and 1999, Neptune was actually the most distant planet of all, farther even than tiny Pluto. For Pluto's tilted, stretched-out orbit carried it, during those years, inside the path of Neptune nearer to the Sun. So for 2 decades, the 8th planet was briefly the farthest, and the 9th the nearer of the two. A gentle crossing of paths in the outer dark, after which Pluto swung outward again, and Neptune settled back into its long-held place as the last of the great planets before the endless night. The 47th fact is that Neptune and Pluto, though their paths seem to cross when drawn on a flat page, are in fact in no danger at all of ever colliding, for they are held apart by a delicate cosmic rhythm. The two worlds move in a careful resonance so that for every 2 journeys Pluto makes around the Sun, Neptune makes exactly 3. This gentle clockwork ensures that whenever Pluto's path crosses Neptune's, the giant planet is always far away in another part of its orbit. A quiet and ancient arrangement, keeping the 2 distant worlds forever safely apart across the vast reaches of the dark. The 48th fact is that light from the Sun, traveling at the fastest speed the universe allows, takes about 4 hours and 10 minutes to reach Neptune out in the cold. So the sunlight touching the distant blue world at any moment left the Sun more than 4 hours before. If somehow the Sun were suddenly to go dark, Neptune would go on glowing in its light for those 4 long hours before the darkness reached it. A strange and lonely delay, a measure of just how impossibly far the 8th planet drifts from the warmth and light at the heart of its own solar system. The 49th fact is that because Neptune lies so very far away, sending a radio signal to a spacecraft there, or receiving one back, takes about 4 hours each way, traveling at the speed of light. To ask the distant world a question and hear its answer would take more than 8 hours, most of a day. There can be no quick conversation across such a gulf, no swift command and reply, only the slow, patient exchange of whispers across billions of kilometers of empty dark, a reminder of how deep and vast the silence is between us and the last of the Sun's great planets. The 50th fact is that Neptune's path around the Sun is tilted only very slightly from the flat plane in which most of the planets move, so that it drifts almost within the same great disk as the Earth and the other worlds, The whole solar system is shaped, roughly, like a broad and gentle disk, with the planets circling near a single plane. Neptune keeps close to that plane, leaning just a little to one side, gliding along near the same great level as its brother worlds, so that from far above, all 8 planets would seem to move together in one wide and slowly turning wheel of light. The 51st fact is that the sheer size of Neptune's orbit is difficult to grasp, for the path it traces around the Sun is a loop nearly 28 billion kilometers around. To travel just once around that vast circle, even moving at the tremendous orbital speed of the planet itself, takes almost 165 years. It is a journey so long that no human machine has ever followed the whole of it. And Neptune has been quietly making that same immense loop over and over for more than 4.5 billion years, since the very birth of the Sun and its worlds. The 52nd fact is that Neptune moves along its great orbit at a stately pace of about 5.5 kilometers every second, far slower than the inner planets' race around the Sun. The worlds nearer the warmth, like our own Earth, must hurry along at nearly 30 kilometers each second to hold their tighter orbits. But Neptune, so far out in the gentle grip of the distant Sun, can afford to drift more slowly, a calm and unhurried glide through the dark, the most distant of the great planets taking its long, patient time upon its enormous and quiet path. The 53rd fact is that out at Neptune's great distance, the Sun no longer looks like the wide and dazzling disk we know from Earth, but shrinks to a single, intensely bright point of light. From the cloud tops of Neptune, our star would appear as little more than a very brilliant star, too small to show any face at all. Yet even shrunk so, it would still be by far the brightest thing in Neptune's sky, hundreds of times brighter than the full moon is to us. A tiny, fierce, distant jewel of light, the far-off heart of the solar system, seen from its farthest shore. The 54th fact is that Neptune's enormous distance means that it receives only about 1/900th as much sunlight as the Earth does, a mere trickle of warmth from the far-off Sun. At the top of its atmosphere, the temperature falls to some 200 degrees below zero on the Celsius scale, among the coldest places in all the Sun's realm. And yet, strangely, Neptune is not the coldest of the giant planets, for deep within it burns a quiet inner heat, so that the distant world is, in a gentle way, warmer than its nearer twin Uranus, keeping its own soft fire in the dark. The 55th fact is that because a year on Neptune is so vastly long, each of its seasons lasts for more than 40 Earth years, far longer than most human lifetimes. Neptune is tilted on its axis by a modest amount, much like the Earth, and so it does have seasons of a kind, as first one hemisphere and then the other leans toward the distant Sun. But the seasons change with unimaginable slowness, each one stretching across decades, so that a single Neptunian summer or winter would outlast a whole human generation, the far world turning through its year at a pace beyond all earthly patience. The 56th fact is that astronomers were only recently able to watch the light of Neptune slowly brighten and dim across the long march of its distant seasons, over the course of many years. As one hemisphere gradually leaned toward the far Sun, its atmosphere seemed to change, its clouds and its brightness shifting with the slow turning of the Neptunian year. To detect such changes at all across billions of kilometers over decades is a remarkable feat of patient observation, a rare glimpse of the seasons of a world so distant that its entire year is longer than the whole span of modern space exploration. The 57th fact is that Neptune's great distance places it right at the inner edge of a vast region called the Kuiper Belt, a broad ring of small icy worlds circling the Sun beyond the planets. Just past Neptune, this cold frontier begins, scattered with countless frozen bodies, of which distant Pluto is only one of the larger. Neptune's gravity holds a powerful sway over this whole region, shepherding and shaping the orbits of the icy worlds within it. so that the last great planet stands, in a sense, as the gatekeeper of the outer dark, its quiet pull reaching far beyond its own orbit into the frozen wilderness. The 58th fact is that it would take a spacecraft, traveling at the great speeds our rockets can reach, about 12 years to journey all the way out to Neptune from the Earth. The single probe that has ever visited the distant world spent more than a decade crossing the Gulf to reach it. Such a voyage is longer than many great human undertakings, a slow and patient falling outward through the dark, past world after world. A reminder that Neptune lies not merely far away, but so profoundly distant that even to send a small machine to greet it is the work of many long and quiet years. The 59th fact is that from Neptune, the Earth would be utterly invisible to the unaided eye, lost entirely in the glare close beside the tiny distant sun. Our whole world, with all its oceans and mountains and living things, would be far too small and too near the sun's bright point to be seen at all. To an observer drifting in Neptune's blue skies, the place we call home simply would not appear. A humbling thought that from the outer edge of our own solar system, the Earth itself would vanish, swallowed up in the dazzle beside a sun grown small and far away. The 60th fact is that the vast distance to Neptune is perhaps best felt by imagining the whole solar system shrunk down until the Earth's orbit were no larger than a small coin. On that tiny scale, Neptune would still lie a great stride away, 30 times farther out than the coin-sized Earth, drifting alone at the dim outer edge of the model. The inner worlds would huddle close together near the center, while Neptune wandered far off in the dark on its own. A picture that gently reveals just how much empty, silent space lies between the last great planet and the small, bright heart of it all. The 61st fact is that Neptune is the fourth largest of the planets by width, smaller only than the three giants Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus. It measures some 49,000 kilometers across, nearly 4 times the width of our own Earth. If Neptune were hollow, one could pour almost 60 Earths inside it and still have room to spare. A truly giant world, and yet the smallest of the 4 great planets of the outer dark, a deep blue sphere vast beyond all earthly scale, turning slowly and silently at the frozen edge of the sun's wide realm. The 62nd fact is that though Neptune is very slightly smaller than its twin Uranus, it is noticeably heavier, holding more mass packed into its deep blue globe. Neptune weighs about 17 times as much as the whole Earth, making it the most massive of the 2 ice giants. This greater weight, gathered into a slightly smaller sphere, means that Neptune is the denser of the twins, more tightly compressed. A compact and weighty world, its great mass hidden quietly beneath a serene face of blue, drifting heavy and slow through the far cold reaches of the sun's family. The 63rd fact is that Neptune is called an ice giant because so much of it is made of what astronomers loosely call ices, chiefly water, ammonia, and methane, though deep within the planet these are not cold and solid at all. Under the crushing pressures and fierce heat of Neptune's interior, these substances become strange, hot, dense fluids, quite unlike the ice we know on Earth. The name speaks not of frozen coldness, but of the kind of material the planet is built from, a world made largely of these heavier compounds, gathered in enormous quantity around a small and hidden rocky heart. The 64th fact is that beneath Neptune's deep blue atmosphere lies a vast and hidden mantle, a great, hot, dense layer of water and ammonia and methane ices, far larger and heavier than the whole of our Earth. This exotic ocean is nothing like any sea we know, for it is scorching hot and under tremendous pressure, a slushy, electrically charged fluid stretching thousands of kilometers deep. It makes up the great bulk of the planet's mass, a strange and secret realm, hidden forever beneath the clouds, where the very stuff of the world flows in ways no earthly ocean ever could. The 65th fact is that at the very center of Neptune lies a small rocky and metallic core, thought to be roughly the size of the Earth itself, though far more massive. It is a dense heart of rock and iron and other heavy materials, buried beneath thousands of kilometers of hot fluid ices and deep atmosphere. The pressures there are almost beyond imagining, and the temperatures may reach many thousands of degrees. A hidden inner world, hotter than the surface of the sun, sealed away forever at the heart of the great blue planet, the solid seed around which all of Neptune's vast bulk is gathered. The 66th fact is that the outermost layer of Neptune is its deep atmosphere, made chiefly of hydrogen and helium, the two lightest and most common gases in the universe, with a small but crucial trace of methane. These are much the same gases that make up the Sun and the great giant planets. But it is that small amount of methane, mixed into the hydrogen and helium, that gives Neptune its famous deep blue color. A thin veil of gas at the very top of the world, painting the whole vast planet in its lovely azure, while the true bulk of Neptune lies hidden far below. The 67th fact is that Neptune's overall makeup gives it a density greater than that of the gas giants Jupiter and Saturn, for it holds a larger share of heavy icy and rocky material. The great gas giants are made mostly of light hydrogen and helium, and so, despite their enormous size, they are not very dense at all. Neptune, richer and heavier stuff, is more tightly packed. A smaller but weightier world, so that if one could somehow weigh a spoonful from deep within each planet, Neptune's would prove the heavier, its interior crowded with the denser materials of the outer solar system. The 68th fact is that if Neptune could somehow be placed in a vast enough ocean, it would be too dense to float, unlike its cousin Saturn, which is so light it would drift upon the water. Neptune's greater share of heavy ices and rock gives it an average density noticeably higher than that of the gas giants. It is, in a sense, a more substantial world for its size, more solid in its overall makeup. A reminder that not all giant planets are alike, and that Neptune, for all its serene and gentle blue, is a heavier and denser world than its enormous golden cousins nearer the Sun. The 69th fact is that Neptune is so large that it could swallow our entire Earth many times over, for its volume is nearly 60 times greater than that of our world. Standing beside Neptune, the Earth would be a small blue marble against a vast blue globe, dwarfed utterly by the giant planet. And yet Neptune is itself the smallest of the four giants, a humbling nesting of scales, in which our whole world is a speck beside Neptune, and Neptune in turn is modest beside the truly colossal bulk of Jupiter, the greatest of all the Sun's children. The 70th fact is that Neptune, like all the giant planets, has no true solid surface where a traveler might stand, only an ever-thickening atmosphere that slowly gives way to hot, dense fluid far below. Descending into Neptune, one would pass from thin, cold air, down through deepening clouds, into ever greater pressure and heat, with no clear boundary ever crossed. There is nowhere to land, nowhere to rest, no ground at all, only a gradual, crushing deepening, from the gentle blue clouds at the top down into the strange and secret interior, where the very idea of a surface simply loses all meaning. The 71st fact is that because Neptune is a giant world made largely of fluid rather than solid rock, it does not spin as a single rigid body, but turns at different speeds in different places. The equator and the poles rotate at somewhat different rates, a strange behavior quite impossible for a solid world like the Earth. This is the mark of a planet whose outer layers are gas and liquid, free to flow and slip past one another. A great, deep, restless world, turning not all of a piece, but in overlapping bands and currents, each moving to its own slow rhythm in the dark. The 72nd fact is that Neptune spins quite rapidly for so large a world, completing a full turn on its axis in only about 16 hours, so that a day there is far shorter than a day on Earth. This swift rotation, in a planet nearly 4 times the width of our world, means that its equator races round at tremendous speed. That fast spin helps to draw the planet's deep atmosphere out into bands and belts, and to stir up its mighty winds, a giant world turning quickly beneath its serene blue face, its rapid spin quietly shaping the storms and currents of its far and frozen sky. The 73rd fact is that the pressures deep inside Neptune climb to millions of times the pressure of the air we breathe here at the surface of the Earth. As one descends into the planet, the weight of all the gas and fluid above presses down ever harder, crushing the material into strange and dense states unknown on any world we can walk upon. Near the core, the pressure is almost beyond comprehension, enough to squeeze ordinary substances into exotic forms, and some believe to press the very carbon in the mantle into glittering crystals of diamond, deep in the hidden heart of the blue giant. The 74th fact is that Neptune's mass is so great that its gravity, at the cloud tops, is only a little stronger than the gravity we feel here on Earth. Despite the planet's enormous size, this gentle surprise comes because Neptune, though vast, is spread across such a huge volume that its surface, so to speak, lies far from its center. A visitor floating in Neptune's high clouds would feel a pull not so very different from home. Though of course there is nothing there to stand upon, only the endless deepening of gas and cloud, drawing everything slowly and inescapably inward toward the hidden core. The 75th fact is that Neptune formed, along with all the planets, some 4.5 billion years ago, from the great swirling disk of gas and dust that surrounded the newborn sun. Out in the cold far reaches of that disk, where ices could freeze solid, a rocky heart gathered and grew, and drew in gas and icy material around itself, until the giant world of Neptune took shape. It has turned quietly in the dark ever since, an ancient world, as old as the sun and the earth themselves, born in the same great cloud, in the first days of the solar system. The 76th fact is that astronomers have long puzzled over exactly how Neptune came to be so massive so far from the sun, where the material to build a giant world was thin and sparse. Out at such a distance, the swirling disk around the young sun was spread out and slow, and it is not entirely clear how a planet so large could gather itself there in the time available. Some believe Neptune may have formed nearer the sun and slowly drifted outward to its present place. A gentle mystery still, the origin of the last great planet, hidden in the dim first chapters of the solar system's birth. The 77th fact is that Neptune is thought to have migrated outward over the ages, drifting gradually away from the sun to its present distant orbit, long after it first formed. In the young solar system, the giant planets are believed to have shifted their positions, jostling gently through the surrounding disk of small icy bodies. As Neptune moved outward, its powerful gravity scattered countless of those icy worlds, flinging some inward and hurling others far out into the deep, shaping the whole outer solar system as it went, so that the great blue planet is, in a way, the quiet architect of the frozen realm beyond it. The 78th fact is that Neptune's deep interior is thought to be extraordinarily hot, with temperatures near its core reaching perhaps 5,000 degrees or more, hotter than the surface of the sun itself. This tremendous inner heat, left over from the planet's formation and perhaps added to by processes still not fully understood, quietly rises through the world. It is this hidden warmth that drives much of Neptune's restless weather, a strange thought that beneath the coldest cloud tops in the solar system lies a heart hotter than a star's face, its warmth slowly seeping outward through thousands of kilometers of hidden fluid. The 79th fact is that Neptune and Uranus, the two ice giants, are so alike in size and makeup that studying one helps us to understand the other, two sister worlds sharing many deep secrets. Yet they differ in telling ways, for Neptune is warmer within, stormier without, and a deeper blue. Comparing the twins, astronomers hope to learn why worlds born so alike should turn out so subtly different. A quiet natural experiment, played out across billions of kilometers of dark, in which two nearly identical planets reveal, through their gentle differences, the hidden workings of the ice giants. The 80th fact is that the ice giants like Neptune are now thought to be among the most common kinds of planet in the whole galaxy, for astronomers have found many worlds of similar size circling other distant stars. Out among the countless suns, planets roughly the size of Neptune appear again and again, so that our own eighth world may be a familiar sort of place across the cosmos. In studying Neptune, then, we study not only our own solar system, but a whole vast family of worlds beyond it. The distant blue giant standing as our nearest example of a kind of planet scattered, it seems, throughout the stars. The 81st fact is that Neptune's most striking feature, the thing that first draws the eye, is its deep and lovely blue, a rich azure far more vivid than any other planet in the Sun's family. It glows in the dark like a great sapphire, or like a marble of still, deep ocean water. This beautiful color is not painted on, nor does it come from any sea. It rises instead from the very gases of the planet's atmosphere, from the way those gases quietly catch and scatter the faint distant sunlight, letting only the calm blue return to our eyes. The 82nd fact is that Neptune's blue color comes chiefly from a gas called methane, which is mixed in small amounts into the hydrogen and helium of its upper atmosphere. Methane has a special property, for it drinks in the red and orange light of the sun, while letting the blue light pass through and scatter back out. So when sunlight falls upon Neptune, the reds are quietly absorbed, and mostly the blues escape again to be seen. And thus the whole vast planet takes on its deep and gentle azure, a color born from the simple way one humble gas plays with the colors of light. The 83rd fact is that when sunlight strikes Neptune's atmosphere, the methane there absorbs the warmer, redder parts of the light and lets the cooler, bluer parts scatter back out into space. It is a little like the way our own sky turns blue, though by a somewhat different means. The red light is quietly taken in and lost, while the blue is returned to any watching eye. And so, across the whole face of the planet, only the serene blue remains to be seen, the warmer colors of the sun gently filtered away by the thin veil of gas at the top of the world. The 84th fact is that, curiously, Neptune is a noticeably deeper and richer blue than its twin Uranus, even though both worlds have much the same amount of methane in their skies. For a long time this difference was a gentle puzzle, since the two planets seemed so alike in their makeup. Something more than methane alone must be at work to make Neptune the deeper blue, and astronomers have come to believe that a thin haze high in Uranus's atmosphere pales its color, while Neptune, with less of that haze, shows its true and vivid azure more clearly to the dark. The 85th fact is that recent studies suggest that the difference in color between Neptune and Uranus comes from a layer of pale haze that lies thicker in the skies of Uranus. This whitish haze, made of tiny frozen particles, sits like a soft veil over Uranus, washing out its color to a paler, milkier blue-green. Neptune has a thinner layer of this haze, and so its deeper blue shines through more purely. A gentle explanation for why two such similar worlds should wear such different shades, one a soft pale aquamarine, the other a rich and glowing sapphire, out in the far cold dark. The 86th fact is that the blue of Neptune is not perfectly even across the planet, for careful study reveals subtle bands and patches of slightly different shades, lighter and darker, drifting across its face. Belts of cloud and haze and great storms break the color into a gentle patterning. Bright white streaks of high cloud sometimes appear against the deeper blue, like wisps of fog above an ocean, and darker spots, the great storms of Neptune, show as shadowed ovals within the azure, so that the planet's color, seen closely, is a living, shifting thing, never quite the same from one time to the next. The 87th fact is that the particular blue of Neptune is a color we rarely see so pure and so deep anywhere else in the solar system, a shade that has captured the imagination ever since the first close images arrived. It is often described as a brilliant, almost electric azure, though the truest color is a little softer and deeper than the most dramatic pictures suggest. Still, there is no denying its beauty. A vast, serene, glowing blue, hanging alone in the blackness at the edge of the sun's realm, the loveliest and most oceanic of all the planets to look upon. The 88th fact is that it is worth remembering that the vivid blue we so often see in pictures of Neptune has sometimes been gently brightened and deepened to bring out the planet's features. The very first images were adjusted to make its subtle bands and storms easier to study, and this gave the world an especially electric blue in the popular imagination. The true color, seen by the eye, would be a little softer, a slightly grayer and gentler azure. Yet even in its truest shade, Neptune remains a strikingly blue world, deeper and richer in color than any other planet that circles our sun. The 89th fact is that Neptune's blue color is a quiet reminder that even at the frozen edge of the solar system, the faint light of the distant sun still reaches out to touch and to paint the most far-flung of the worlds, for the color arises only because sunlight falls upon the planet, is filtered through its methane skies, and scatters back to be seen. Without the sun, Neptune would be utterly dark and invisible. So its lovely blue is, in a sense, a gift of the far-off sun, a last gentle touch of our star's light upon its most distant great child, out in the cold. The 90th fact is that methane, the gas that gives Neptune its blue, is a simple substance, a small molecule of carbon and hydrogen, the very same gas that burns on kitchen stoves here on Earth. But high in the frozen skies of Neptune, it plays a very different role, coloring an entire world. It is a gentle wonder that so ordinary a molecule, given a whole planet's atmosphere to work upon, can wrap a giant world in such a beautiful azure, a reminder that the grand and lovely sights of the cosmos often arise from the simplest and most humble of ingredients, arranged on an enormous scale. The 91st fact is that high in Neptune's atmosphere, above the deep blue, drift wispy white clouds made of frozen methane crystals. Floating like cirrus clouds far above an ocean, these bright, high clouds catch the faint sunlight and stand out pale against the darker azure below. As the planet turns, they stretch and streak across the sky, casting faint shadows on the deeper cloud layers beneath them. A delicate and beautiful sight, threads of white ice drifting through the blue skies of the most distant great planet, ever-changing wisps of frozen cloud above a world of endless wind. The 92nd fact is that Neptune's atmosphere is layered, like a great deep sea of gas, with different clouds forming at different depths depending on the temperature and pressure. High up drift clouds of frozen methane, giving the white streaks we see, while far below, hidden from view, may lie clouds of other frozen substances such as ammonia and water. Each layer floats at its own level in the deepening air, so that beneath the blue face of Neptune lies a whole vertical world of cloud decks, stacked one below another into the dark, each formed of a different frozen material in the cold. The 93rd fact is that the blue we see when we look upon Neptune comes only from the very topmost layers of a vastly deep atmosphere, the thin outer skin of an enormous world. Below that blue veil, the air grows thicker and warmer and utterly hidden from our sight, plunging down thousands of kilometers into the planet. All we ever glimpse is the gentle surface of the clouds, the uppermost blue, and the true depths of Neptune, its hot interior and hidden ocean, remain forever wrapped away beneath that serene azure face, secret and unseen in the far reaches of the dark. The 94th fact is that astronomers can learn a great deal about Neptune's atmosphere simply by carefully studying the exact colors of the light it reflects, splitting that light into its rainbow of shades. For each gas in the planet's air leaves its own particular fingerprint upon the light, absorbing certain colors and letting others pass. By reading these subtle marks, scientists can tell what Neptune's skies are made of, a way of studying a world across billions of kilometers of dark, learning the makeup of its distant clouds from nothing more than the gentle blue light that reaches us here on Earth. The 95th fact is that the deep blue of Neptune has made it, for many people, the most beautiful of all the planets, a serene and jewel-like world that seems almost too lovely to be so cold and so far away. There is something calming in its color, an oceanic tranquility, even though the planet itself is a place of shrieking winds and unimaginable cold. Perhaps it is this gentle contrast that so captures the heart, a world that looks, from afar, as peaceful as a still deep sea, yet holds within it the wildest storms in all the sun's wide family. The 96th fact is that Neptune's color can shift subtly over the years, brightening and dimming as its long, slow seasons turn and its clouds wax and wane. Astronomers watching the planet across decades have seen its blue face grow a little lighter or darker as the distant sun leans upon first one hemisphere and then the other. These are gentle, patient changes, unfolding across many Earth years. A slow breathing of color across the seasons of a world whose year is longer than a human life. The great blue planet quietly changing its shade in the far and frozen dark. The 97th fact is that the same methane that colors Neptune blue also exists in the atmosphere of Uranus, and in smaller amounts within the great gas giants Jupiter and Saturn. But it is in the two ice giants, richer in methane and cold enough to keep it high in their skies, that the gas most strongly shapes the color of the world. Neptune shows the effect most vividly of all, a reminder that the same simple ingredients, spread through many different worlds, can produce a whole family of colors and skies, from the warm bands of Jupiter to the deep serene blue of the farthest planet. The 98th fact is that when the first close-up images of Neptune arrived, showing its vivid blue at last, they came as a quiet revelation, for no one had ever seen the distant world in such color before. For nearly a century and a half, Neptune had been only a faint gray-blue speck in our telescopes. To see it revealed as a glowing azure sphere, wrapped in white clouds and dark storms, was to meet the planet truly for the first time. A moment of wonder, when a dim and distant point of light became, all at once, a real and beautiful world. The 99th fact is that the blue of Neptune stands as a gentle emblem of the whole planet, an easy way to hold in the mind so distant and so strange a world. When we picture Neptune, we picture that deep serene azure, and it helps to make the far world feel a little more real, a little more knowable. Color has a way of bringing distant things close to the heart, and so the sapphire blue of the 8th planet, more than any number or measurement, is perhaps what lets us love it, this lovely quiet marble at the very edge of the sun's realm. The 100th fact is that, in the end, the deep blue of Neptune is a beautiful accident of chemistry and light, a color born from the meeting of faint sunlight and a thin veil of methane. High above a hidden and hostile world, there is no water, no sky as we know it, no gentle sea beneath. And yet the planet wears the color of the deep ocean, serene and lovely, far out in the frozen dark. A quiet reminder that beauty can arise anywhere in the cosmos. Even at the coldest and most distant edge of everything, the sun still holds, glowing softly for any eye that comes to see it. The 101st fact is that Neptune is home to the fastest winds ever measured on any planet in the entire solar system, gales that scream through its blue skies at speeds almost beyond belief, Great streams of gas race around the planet, reaching, at their swiftest, some 2,100 kilometers every hour. That is faster than the speed of sound here on Earth, faster than any storm our own world has ever known. A strange and wonderful fury, raging on the most distant of the great planets, where one might have expected only frozen silence and calm. The 102nd fact is that it is one of the deepest puzzles of Neptune that so cold and so distant a world should have the wildest winds of all. For it lies far from the warmth of the sun that drives most weather. On the inner planets, it is the sun's heat that stirs the air into storms. But Neptune receives only the faintest trickle of sunlight, and still its winds outrace every other planet's. The answer seems to lie within the planet itself, in a hidden inner heat, rising from its depths, that quietly powers the fastest gales in the sun's whole family. The 103rd fact is that Neptune's mightiest winds blow at some 2,100 kilometers each hour, swift enough to circle the whole planet in only a matter of days. To stand in such a wind, were that even possible, would be to be swept along faster than a jet aircraft flies. These winds race mostly in great bands, streaming around the planet parallel to its equator, vast rivers of shrieking gas, some blowing one way and some the other, that wrap the whole blue world in ceaseless, roaring motion, the most violent whether anywhere in the light of our sun. The 104th fact is that, strangely, most of Neptune's fierce winds blow in the direction opposite to the planet's own spin, streaming backward against the turning of the world. This is called retrograde wind, and it is unusually strong on Neptune. The great equatorial gales race one way while the planet itself rotates the other. A curious and beautiful contradiction. The deep atmosphere and the solid world beneath it moving in opposition, so that Neptune's skies seem forever to be racing against the very turning of the planet that holds them, in a slow and endless disagreement across the ages. The 105th fact is that when the single spacecraft that visited Neptune drew near, it discovered an enormous dark storm in the planet's southern skies, a great oval shadow that came to be called the Great Dark Spot. It was a vast whirling system, wider than our entire Earth, a deep dark hollow in the blue clouds. Around and above it swirled bright white clouds, like foam above a great dark whirlpool. A striking and mysterious feature, the largest storm then known on the planet, a great dark eye gazing out from the azure face of the distant world. The 106th fact is that the great dark spot of Neptune was, in its way, a cousin to the great red spot of Jupiter, a vast storm system turning slowly in the planet's atmosphere. But where Jupiter's great storm has raged for centuries, Neptune's proved far less lasting. It was a deep, dark oval, a region where the clouds seemed to part and reveal darker air below, and around it the winds blew at their very fastest, so that this single great storm marked the most violent and dynamic place on the whole restless face of the blue giant. The 107th fact is that when astronomers turned a great space telescope back toward Neptune a few years after the spacecraft's visit, they made a startling discovery, that the great dark spot had vanished entirely. The enormous storm, wider than the Earth, had simply faded away and disappeared. In its place, before long, a new dark spot appeared in a different part of the planet, revealing that Neptune's great storms, unlike Jupiter's ancient one, come and go across just a few years, forming and dissolving in the restless blue skies, each one a passing tempest rather than an enduring feature. The 108th fact is that Neptune's dark storms are now understood to be great high-pressure systems, vast swirling vortices in the planet's atmosphere, appearing as dark ovals because they reach down to reveal deeper, darker layers of cloud. They drift across the planet, sometimes for a few years, and then gently fade away. New ones arise elsewhere in their turn. A slow parade of enormous storms, each larger than a world, being born and dying in the deep blue skies of Neptune, so that the face of the planet is never quite the same from one visit to the next. The 109th fact is that above and around Neptune's dark storms often gather bright white clouds, made of frozen methane crystals lifted high into the cold upper air. These are sometimes called companion clouds, forming where the swirling storm forces gas upward until it freezes. They stand out vividly against the deep blue, pale bright wisps riding above the great dark ovals below. A beautiful pairing, the shadowed storm and its crown of white cloud, drifting together across the face of the planet. The ever-shifting weather of a world where the wind never rests and the sky is never still. The 110th fact is that one especially bright and persistent white cloud on Neptune was nicknamed the Scooter, for the swift way it seemed to race around the planet, faster than the great dark storms nearby. It was a small, bright, hurrying feature, darting along in the blue skies. Such nicknames helped the astronomers keep track of the many drifting clouds and storms they watched, and the Scooter became a small, beloved character in the story of Neptune. One quick bright cloud among all the vast and slow-turning weather of the distant world, scurrying along beneath the racing winds. The 111th fact is that the clouds of Neptune drift and change with remarkable speed, so that the planet's face can look noticeably different from one day to the next as its storms and streaks race around it. In the brief span of a Neptunian day, only about 16 hours, whole cloud features can sweep far across the planet. Astronomers watching closely can see the weather shift almost as they look, a surprisingly lively and dynamic world. For all its cold and distance, its blue skies forever rearranging themselves into new patterns of light and shadow in the racing wind. The 112th fact is that Neptune's atmosphere is arranged into broad bands and belts, much like the stripes of Jupiter and Saturn, though far fainter and subtler upon the blue. In these bands, the winds blow steadily, some streaming one way and some the other, dividing the planet into a set of great parallel currents. The storms and clouds ride along within these bands, carried by the ceaseless winds, a hidden order beneath the shifting weather, the whole vast atmosphere organized into these great rivers of moving gas, wrapping the planet in quiet, roaring stripes from equator to pole. The 113th fact is that the energy that drives Neptune's tremendous winds is thought to come not from the distant sun, but from the planet's own hidden inner heat, rising slowly from its depths. This warmth, seeping up from the hot interior, stirs the deep atmosphere into motion far more powerfully than the faint sunlight ever could. It is a strange inversion of what we know on Earth, where the sun rules the weather. On Neptune, the planet warms its own skies from within, and it is this quiet inner fire that whips the blue clouds into the fastest winds in all the solar system. The 114th fact is that Neptune's weather may also be shaped by the very clarity of its cold, distant air. For with so little sunlight to warm and stir the upper atmosphere, there is little to slow the winds once they begin to blow. On warmer, sunnier worlds, the churning heat of the sun creates turbulence that can hold the winds in check. But on frozen Neptune, the calm, cold air offers little resistance. And so, once set in motion by the planet's inner heat, the great winds are free to race almost unopposed, building to the tremendous speeds that make Neptune the windiest world of all. The 115th fact is that the temperatures at the very top of Neptune's clouds fall to around 220 degrees below zero on the Celsius scale, among the coldest cloud tops anywhere in the Sun's realm. In such bitter cold, the methane gas of the atmosphere can freeze into tiny ice crystals, forming the bright high clouds. It is a frozen, furious place, unimaginably hostile to any life we know. A world where the air itself turns to ice, and yet races in howling winds, a paradox of stillness and fury at the very edge of the solar system. The 116th fact is that Neptune's storms can grow to truly staggering sizes. Some of its great dark spots spanning distances as wide as our entire planet Earth, or even wider. A single storm on Neptune can be large enough to swallow our whole world within it. And these vast tempests can appear and vanish within just a few years. A humbling scale of weather, in which storms the size of planets bloom and fade across the blue face of Neptune, dwarfing anything our own small world has ever known, in the far cold reaches of the dark. The 117th fact is that astronomers continue to watch Neptune from afar with great telescopes, catching new bright clouds and dark storms as they come and go across the years. Each new observation adds a little to our understanding of the planet's restless weather, though much remains mysterious. We have never returned there with a spacecraft since the single brief visit long ago. And so, for now, we must study Neptune's storms from billions of kilometers away, watching patiently as the distant blue world stirs and changes, forever spinning up new tempests in its cold and windy skies. The 118th fact is that the winds of Neptune remain, in many ways, a genuine mystery, for scientists still do not fully understand how so cold a world can drive such violent gales. The planet's inner heat surely plays a part, and the clarity of its frozen air, but the full story is not yet known. Neptune keeps some of its deepest secrets still. A world whose furious winds outrun every prediction, quietly challenging our understanding, reminding us how much remains to be learned even about the planets of our own solar system, out there in the far and frozen dark. The 119th fact is that to stand within Neptune's winds, were such a thing possible, would be to be swept along faster than any hurricane, faster than a jet, faster even than the speed of sound in our own air. And yet there would be nothing to feel the wind against, no ground, no shore, only the racing gas itself. The winds simply carry the whole atmosphere along in their tremendous flow, a ceaseless, roaring current of gas wrapping the entire planet, the swiftest and most powerful whether anywhere in the light of our sun, blowing on and on through the endless cold. The 120th fact is that for all their fury, Neptune's mighty winds move in a strange silence, for there is no ear to hear them, and the sound would be unlike any storm we know. They are a quiet violence, vast and powerful yet utterly remote, raging in the dark billions of kilometers away. When we picture them, we must imagine a fury we can see but never hear. The great blue planet spinning in the blackness, its clouds streaking past at impossible speeds, a tempest of planetary scale unfolding in perfect, distant, dreamlike silence at the edge of the sun's wide realm. The 121st fact is that one of the strangest facts about Neptune is that it gives off more heat than it receives from the distant sun, glowing quietly with a warmth that rises from deep within itself. The planet radiates into space more than twice the energy it takes in from the faint sunlight. This means Neptune has its own inner source of heat, an ancient warmth stored in its depths, a hidden fire at the heart of the coldest reaches of the solar system, gently seeping outward through thousands of kilometers of fluid and gas, and quietly powering the fiercest winds of any world. The 122nd fact is that Neptune radiates about 2.5 times as much heat as it receives from the sun, one of the greatest such surpluses of any planet, where the faint distant sunlight is far too weak to explain the planet's activity. This hidden inner warmth makes up the difference. It is what keeps Neptune, in a gentle way, warmer within than its twin Uranus, which seems to have little such inner heat. A quiet distinction between the two ice giants, one still burning softly with an old inner fire, the other grown colder and stiller in the dark. The 123rd fact is that where Neptune's inner heat comes from remains something of a mystery, though it is thought to be warmth left over from the planet's birth, slowly leaking outward across billions of years. When Neptune formed, gathering itself together from gas and dust, it grew very hot, and some of that primordial heat may still be escaping even now. Other, subtler processes deep within may add to it as well. A gentle old warmth, born in the planet's earliest days, still rising quietly through its depths after 4.5 billion years, keeping the distant blue world softly aglow from within. The 124th fact is that it is a curious puzzle that Neptune should give off so much more inner heat than its near-twin Uranus. Since the two worlds are so alike in size and makeup, Uranus radiates almost no heat of its own, seeming cold and quiet within, while Neptune glows warmly from its depths. Why two such similar planets should differ so is not fully understood. Perhaps Uranus suffered some great blow long ago that stirred its interior differently, or perhaps their insides are arranged in subtly different ways, quietly setting the warmer twin apart from the colder in the far dark. The 125th fact is that deep within Neptune, beneath the blue clouds and the hot fluid mantle, conditions grow so extreme that scientists believe a truly strange thing may happen there: the forming of diamonds. The mantle is rich in methane, which contains carbon, and under the crushing pressures and fierce heat deep inside the planet, that carbon may be squeezed together into glittering crystals of diamond. It is one of the most wonderful ideas in all of planetary science, that within the coldest of the great planets, diamonds may quietly be born in the hidden dark, deep beneath the serene blue face. The 126th fact is that the idea of diamond rain within Neptune is among the most beautiful notions in astronomy. For scientists believe that deep inside the planet, tiny diamonds may form and then slowly sink downward through the hot fluid, like a gentle glittering rain. Under the immense pressure, carbon from the methane is pressed into diamond, and these small crystals, being heavy, drift down toward the core. Deep within the blue giant, then, there may fall a slow and silent rain of diamonds, a quiet, dazzling snowfall of gemstones, hidden forever in the dark heart of the world. The 127th fact is that scientists have actually recreated, in their laboratories, the extreme conditions thought to exist inside Neptune, and have watched tiny diamonds form from carbon under tremendous pressure, using powerful lasers to squeeze and heat plastic, which is rich in carbon and hydrogen, much like Neptune's methane. They saw nanoscale diamonds appear in an instant. It was a small but stunning confirmation of the diamond rain idea. A glimpse, here on Earth, of the strange and glittering chemistry that may unfold, on a vast scale, deep within the hidden interior of the distant blue planet. The 128th fact is that the diamonds that may form within Neptune are thought to sink slowly through thousands of kilometers of hot, dense fluid, drifting down toward the planet's rocky core. Over long ages, a great layer of these diamonds might gather deep within the world, far below any place we could ever reach. It is a treasure beyond all imagining, hidden forever in the crushing dark. Though of course no one could ever go there, nor bring a single glittering crystal back, for the pressures and heat would destroy anything we sent, leaving Neptune's diamond depths a wonder we can only imagine. The 129th fact is that the great inner heat of Neptune, rising from its depths, is what most scientists believe drives the planet's astonishing winds, powering the fastest gales in the solar system from within. For the faint, distant sunlight is far too weak to stir such storms. It is the warmth from below, seeping up through the deep atmosphere, that sets the blue skies racing, a quiet engine at the heart of the world, turning the ancient heat of the planet's birth into the shriek of winds that outrace any storm the Earth has ever known, all in the far cold dark. The 130th fact is that Neptune's deep interior is thought to contain a vast hidden ocean, not of water as we know it, but of a strange, hot, electrically charged fluid of water and ammonia under crushing pressure. This exotic ocean, thousands of kilometers deep, is nothing like any sea on Earth, scalding hot yet unable to boil away under the tremendous weight above it. It may be the source of the planet's magnetism, a secret sea, sealed forever beneath the blue clouds, its charged waters flowing in the dark and quietly generating the magnetic field that wraps the whole distant world. The 131st fact is that Neptune possesses a magnetic field, an invisible force wrapping the planet, though it is a strange and tilted one, leaning far over from the planet's axis of spin and offset from its center. This lopsided magnetism is quite unlike the neat, centered fields of the Earth or Jupiter. It is thought to arise not deep in the core, but in the strange charged fluid of the planet's mantle, a curious and complicated field, tumbling oddly as the planet turns, a sign of the exotic and mysterious ocean of charged fluid hidden within the great blue world. The 132nd fact is that Neptune's magnetic field is tilted by a remarkable angle, some 47 degrees from the planet's axis of rotation, and is also shifted well away from the planet's center. This means that as Neptune spins, its magnetic field wobbles wildly, sweeping around in a great irregular motion. Such a strange, off-kilter field is a puzzle and points to unusual workings deep within the planet, perhaps to a magnetism generated not in a central core, but in a thin outer shell of the strange charged fluid, giving Neptune one of the oddest magnetic fields of any world in the Sun's realm. The 133rd fact is that the magnetic field of Neptune traps particles from space and the solar wind, forming great invisible belts of radiation and a vast magnetic bubble around the planet, called its magnetosphere. Within this bubble, the planet's moons and rings all move, shielded and shaped by the unseen field. The single spacecraft that visited Neptune mapped this strange magnetic realm as it passed, discovering how the tilted, wobbling field creates an ever-changing magnetic environment around the world, quietly churning and shifting as the planet turns, a hidden magnetic weather to match the visible storms above. The 134th fact is that the heat within Neptune keeps its deep interior in a fluid state, so that far below the blue clouds, the planet is not solid at all, but a great hot ocean of exotic materials in ceaseless slow motion. This flowing interior, churning gently over ages, is likely what generates the planet's magnetic field, as moving charged fluids create magnetism. So the inner warmth does more than drive the winds. It stirs the hidden ocean, and from that stirring springs the invisible magnetic field that reaches out far beyond the planet, into the surrounding dark. The 135th fact is that the temperature at Neptune's core is thought to reach some 5,000 degrees on the Celsius scale, hotter than the surface of the Sun, though sealed away beneath thousands of kilometers of fluid and gas. It is a strange and wonderful contrast that the coldest cloud tops in the solar system should hide, at their heart, a warmth to rival a star's face. This deep heat is the ancient legacy of the planet's fiery birth, still glowing softly after billions of years, a hidden ember at the center of the great blue world, keeping it quietly, endlessly warm within. The 136th fact is that Neptune's interior is layered, from the deep atmosphere of gas at the top, down through the hot fluid mantle of water and ammonia and methane, to the small rocky and metallic core at the very center. Each layer grows hotter and denser than the one above, until at the heart lies the dense hot core, wrapped in its exotic ocean. There are no sharp boundaries, only gradual deepening, a quiet architecture of hidden worlds within the world, stacked one within another down into the crushing dark, all sealed away forever beneath the serene blue face we see. The 137th fact is that because we have visited Neptune only once, and only in a brief flyby, Much of what we believe about its hot interior and diamond rain rests on careful reasoning and laboratory experiment rather than direct measurement. We cannot see beneath the clouds, and no probe has ever plunged into the planet. And so scientists must piece together the inner nature of Neptune from its gravity, its magnetism, its heat, and clever experiments on Earth, building, from these distant clues, a picture of a hidden world we may never truly see, deep within the far blue giant. The 138th fact is that the strange inner heat and exotic chemistry of Neptune make it a natural laboratory for understanding conditions found nowhere on Earth, pressures and temperatures far beyond anything we can easily create. In studying the planet, scientists learn about how matter behaves under the most extreme conditions, knowledge that reaches far beyond Neptune itself. The distant world becomes a teacher, its hidden depths, so utterly unlike our own gentle world, quietly revealing the deep physics of matter squeezed and heated beyond all earthly experience, out at the frozen edge of the solar system. The 139th fact is that the diamond rain of Neptune, if it is truly there, would fall in eternal darkness, in a place no light has ever reached and no eye could ever see, thousands of kilometers below the blue clouds, a slow, glittering snowfall of gemstones, drifting down through a hot and crushing dark, gathering silently near the core over billions of years. There is a strange poetry in the thought that the coldest and most distant of the great planets should hide, at its very heart, a treasure of endless falling diamonds, unseen and untouched, in the deep and secret dark. The 140th fact is that the hidden heat of Neptune, gently glowing outward after all these ages, is in its way a quiet echo of the planet's birth, a warmth born in the first days of the solar system and still not spent. Across 4.5 billion years, that ancient fire has slowly leaked away into the cold, and yet enough remains to power the planet's storms and stir its hidden ocean. It is a reminder of how long the memory of the cosmos can be. The warmth of a world's beginning, still faintly glowing, all this vast time later, in the far and frozen dark. The 141st fact is that Neptune, like all 4 of the giant planets, is encircled by a system of rings, though they are faint and dark and utterly unlike the bright, glorious rings of Saturn. Neptune's rings are thin, dusky bands of dark material, so dim that for a long time astronomers were not even certain they existed. Only when a spacecraft finally drew near were they confirmed at last. A set of delicate, shadowy rings looped quietly around the deep blue world, all but invisible in the dark, a subtle and ghostly ornament for the most distant of the great planets. The 142nd fact is that the existence of Neptune's rings was long suspected but hard to prove, for astronomers watching from Earth caught only tantalizing hints of them. As Neptune drifted before distant stars, the starlight would sometimes flicker and dim, as though something faint were passing before it. These brief blinkings suggested rings, but seemed to show only partial arcs, not complete circles. A puzzle that was not truly solved until a spacecraft reached the planet and saw the rings whole, revealing that they were indeed complete, though gathered strangely into bright clumps that had teased the watchers from afar. The 143rd fact is that Neptune's rings are named after the very people involved in the planet's discovery. A fitting tribute woven into the world itself. The brightest and most famous ring is called the Adams ring, after John Couch Adams, and another the Verrier ring, after Urbain Le Verrier. Others bear the names of Galle and Lassell and Arago, all figures from the story of the planet, so that circling Neptune, in bands of dark dust, are the names of those who first found it and its moon, a quiet and lasting memorial drawn in rings around the distant world. The 144th fact is that the most remarkable feature of Neptune's rings is that some of them are not smooth and even all the way around, but gathered into bright, dense clumps called arcs, curving segments where the ring material bunches together. This is very strange, for by the ordinary laws of motion, such clumps ought to spread out and even themselves into a smooth ring over time. Yet Neptune's arcs persist, held together, it is thought, by the gentle shepherding gravity of a nearby moon, one of the small quiet worlds that circle the planet in the dark. The 145th fact is that the brightest ring arcs of Neptune, gathered in the outermost Adam's ring, were given lovely names by their discoverers, words meaning liberty, equality, and fraternity, drawn from an old and hopeful motto. These bright clumps of dusty material, curving through a portion of the ring, stand out against the fainter band around them. Why the material bunches so, rather than spreading evenly, was a genuine mystery when first seen, and remains a subtle puzzle even now. These strange bright arcs persisting quietly in the rings of the distant blue world, curved and clumped against the dark. The 146th fact is that Neptune's ring arcs are thought to be held in place by the gentle gravity of a small nearby moon called Galatea, which shepherds the dusty material and keeps it from spreading out into a smooth, even ring. The little moon's steady pull creates quiet regions where the ring particles gather and linger, forming the bright arcs. It is a delicate cosmic dance. A tiny moon and a band of dust, held together in a fragile balance across the ages, so that the strange clumped arcs of Neptune endure where they might otherwise have long since faded away. The 147th fact is that the material that makes up Neptune's rings is very dark, likely dusty grains reddened and darkened by long ages of exposure to radiation in space. This is part of why the rings are so faint and hard to see, for they reflect very little light. They are nothing like the bright, icy particles of Saturn's dazzling rings. Instead, they are dim, sooty, shadowy bands, drinking in what little sunlight reaches them and giving almost none back, so that Neptune's rings hide quietly in the dark, revealed only to the most patient and careful of watchers. The 148th fact is that Neptune's rings are thought to be relatively young, and perhaps even fading, for the dusty material within them may slowly be lost over time, drifting away or spiraling down onto the planet. Some astronomers believe the rings, or at least their bright arcs, may not last forever, and may be dimmer now than when the spacecraft first saw them decades ago. If so, they are a passing ornament, a fleeting adornment of dust, gathered for a time around the blue world, and perhaps destined to thin and vanish across the long ages, leaving Neptune bare once more. The 149th fact is that the rings of Neptune are made not of great boulders but chiefly of fine dust, tiny grains no larger than particles of smoke, spread thinly around the planet. This is another reason they are so faint, for such fine dust does not reflect much light. The dust is thought to come from small nearby moons, chipped away by tiny impacts and slowly spread into rings, so that Neptune's delicate bands are, in a sense, the ground-up dust of little moons, drifting quietly around the planet, a soft and shadowy veil woven from the debris of the world's own attendants. The 150th fact is that in all, Neptune has several distinct rings, some sharp and narrow, others broad and diffuse, together forming a faint and complicated system around the planet. There is the bright clumped Adam's ring at the outer edge, the Verrier ring farther in, and broader dusty bands and sheets between and around them. It is a subtle and intricate structure, far dimmer and less grand than Saturn's rings, yet lovely in its own quiet way, a set of delicate dark loops encircling the deep blue giant, drifting almost unseen in the cold and distant dark. The 151st fact is that between some of Neptune's rings lie broad, faint sheets of dust spreading across wide regions, so diffuse that they are barely detectable at all. These gossamer bands of dust fill the spaces between the sharper rings, a soft haze of tiny particles drifting around the planet. some spread so wide and so thin that they can only be glimpsed under the most careful observation, adding to the delicate complexity of Neptune's ring system, in which sharp, narrow bands and broad, ghostly sheets of dust together weave a faint and intricate veil around the distant world. The 152nd fact is that the small moons of Neptune are closely bound up with its rings, for several little moons orbit among or near the rings, shepherding the dust and perhaps supplying it as well. These tiny worlds, only tens of kilometers across, move in a delicate relationship with the ring material, their gravity shaping and confining it. Moons and rings together form a single intricate system, a quiet interplay of little worlds and drifting dust, all circling the great blue planet in a fragile, balanced dance that has turned on, gently, for a very long time in the dark. The 153rd fact is that Neptune's rings can only be seen well when viewed from certain angles, especially when lit from behind, so that the faint dust glows with scattered light. When the single spacecraft passed beyond Neptune and looked back toward the distant sun, the rings shone out far more clearly, their dust catching the light. From the front, lit head-on, they nearly vanished, a reminder of how delicate and faint they are. These dark, dusty bands, visible chiefly when the sunlight streams through them from behind and sets their tiny particles softly aglow in the dark. The 154th fact is that the rings of Neptune, faint as they are, tell a quiet story of the planet's history, of small moons and gentle collisions and the slow drift of dust over ages. In studying them, astronomers learn how ring systems form and change and fade, and how moons and rings shape one another. Neptune's dim rings are a subtle chapter in that larger tale, less spectacular than Saturn's, yet no less interesting, a delicate natural experiment in the physics of dust and gravity, unfolding slowly in the cold and dark at the far edge of the sun's wide realm. The 155th fact is that every one of the 4 giant planets we now know wears a system of rings, though only Saturn's are bright and glorious to behold. Jupiter, Uranus, and Neptune all bear faint, dark, dusty rings, far dimmer than Saturn's dazzling bands. Neptune's are among the faintest of all, a quiet reminder that rings are a common feature of the great worlds, and that beauty in the cosmos comes in many degrees, from Saturn's shining crown to the soft, shadowy, all but invisible loops of dust that drift around the most distant of the giants. The 156th fact is that the discovery that Neptune's rings were gathered into arcs, rather than spread smoothly, was one of the great surprises of the spacecraft's visit, overturning what astronomers had expected to find. The laws of orbital motion suggested rings should be even all the way around, and yet here were clumps, persisting against all expectation. It was a puzzle that sent scientists searching for an explanation, and that search, still not entirely finished, has taught us much about the delicate ways that moons and gravity can sculpt and confine the drifting dust of a ring. The 157th fact is that studying Neptune's faint rings from Earth is extraordinarily difficult, for they are lost in the glare of the bright planet and are themselves so dim, only the greatest telescopes, using clever techniques to block the planet's light, can glimpse them at all. And so our best pictures of the rings still come from the single spacecraft that passed so long ago, leaving much about them uncertain and unknown, whether they have faded or changed, whether new arcs have formed, mysteries that await the day some future mission finally returns to the distant blue world. The 158th fact is that the ring arcs of Neptune may be slowly changing even now, for observations across the decades since the spacecraft's visit hint that some of the bright clumps have shifted or dimmed. A ring is not a fixed and permanent thing, but a drifting, evolving band of dust, forever being shaped by the moons around it. Neptune's arcs, so strangely gathered, seem especially prone to change, and astronomers watch them from afar when they can, curious to see how these delicate, mysterious clumps of dust may wax and wane across the long, slow years. The 159th fact is that for all their faintness, the rings of Neptune add a quiet grace to the distant world, a delicate set of dark loops encircling the deep blue globe, drifting silently in the cold. They are not grand, not dazzling, but subtle and mysterious, a fitting ornament for so remote and enigmatic a planet. To picture Neptune with its faint arcs shining softly against the dark is to see the world more truly. The great blue giant, its ring of dust and its little shepherding moons, all turning gently together in the deep and silent night. The 160th fact is that the rings of Neptune, and the small moons that tend them, form one of the most delicate and least understood systems in all the solar system, a quiet frontier of mystery at the edge of the sun's realm. We have seen them close only once, decades ago, and much about them remains uncertain. They wait there still, drifting in the dark, keeping their secrets, a faint and lovely puzzle, patiently circling the blue world, ready to teach us more whenever we should choose, at last, to journey back out to greet the most distant of the great planets. The 161st fact is that Neptune is attended by a family of at least 14 known moons, ranging from one great remarkable world down to tiny dark specks only a few kilometers across. Most are small and faint, discovered only in recent times with great telescopes. But one among them stands utterly apart, the giant moon Triton, a world so strange and beautiful that it is a wonder in its own right. So Neptune drifts through the dark not alone, but with its quiet retinue of moons, each a small frozen companion turning through the endless night around the last of the great planets. The 162nd fact is that by far the greatest of Neptune's moons is Triton, a large icy world nearly as big as our own moon, and utterly unlike any other major moon in the solar system. Triton was discovered just 17 days after Neptune itself, spotted by the astronomer William Lassell. It is a remarkable place, cold and bright and geologically alive, and it holds a secret in the very way it moves around Neptune, a strange backward orbit that sets it apart from nearly every other large moon and hints at an extraordinary past. The 163rd fact is that Triton is the only large moon in the entire solar system that orbits its planet backwards, moving around Neptune in the direction opposite to the planet's own spin. This strange retrograde motion is a powerful clue to the moon's origin, for moons that form alongside their planet nearly always orbit the same way it turns. Triton's backward path tells us it did not form where it now moves, but was instead captured from elsewhere, drawn in from the surrounding dark, a wanderer caught and held by Neptune's gravity long after the planet itself was born. The 164th fact is that because Triton orbits Neptune backwards, astronomers are all but certain that it did not form there, but was captured from the surrounding space, most likely from the great belt of icy worlds beyond the planet. Triton is thought to be a Kuiper belt object, a frozen world much like distant Pluto, that wandered too close to Neptune long ago and was seized by its gravity. If so, it is a captured stranger, a world born in the outer dark and adopted by Neptune, now the greatest of its moons, a distant cousin of Pluto held forever in the giant's embrace. The 165th fact is that Triton is very likely a captured world, a cousin of Pluto seized from the Kuiper belt, which makes it a rare gift, a piece of the distant frozen frontier brought close and held where a spacecraft could see it. In visiting Triton, the single probe that passed by Neptune saw, in a sense, a Kuiper belt world up close, decades before any spacecraft reached Pluto itself. It is a frozen wanderer from the outer dark, captured and kept by Neptune, and in that capture, brought within reach of our brief and distant gaze. The 166th fact is that Triton is one of the coldest places ever measured anywhere in the entire solar system. its icy surface chilled to some 235 degrees below zero on the Celsius scale. At such cold, gases we know as air on Earth freeze solid into ice upon the ground. Triton's surface is coated in frozen nitrogen and methane, glittering pale in the faint distant sunlight. A frozen, gleaming world, among the very coldest known, turning slowly in the deep dark around Neptune, so cold that the very air lies frozen underfoot. The 167th fact is that despite its terrible cold, Triton is a surprisingly active world. For the single spacecraft that flew past discovered great geysers erupting from its frozen surface, plumes of gas and dark dust rising high into the thin sky. These nitrogen geysers shoot upward for kilometers before drifting sideways in the faint winds, staining the pale ice with dark streaks. It was an astonishing find, for few had expected so cold a moon to be so alive. A frozen world, and yet one that quietly breathes, sending up its dark plumes into the distant dark. The 168th fact is that Triton's geysers are thought to erupt when the faint warmth of the distant sun soaks into the frozen nitrogen just beneath the moon's clear icy surface, until the gas builds up enough pressure to burst forth. The dark plumes rise high and then drift downwind, laying long dark streaks across the pale ice. It is a gentle kind of volcanism, driven not by inner fire but by the barest touch of sunlight. A quiet, patient activity on one of the coldest worlds we know, its frozen surface stirred faintly to life by the faintest warmth reaching it across the dark. The 169th fact is that the surface of Triton is remarkably young and smooth in places, with few craters, a sign that it has been reshaped and renewed by activity far more recently than most frozen worlds. Great regions bear a strange, dimpled texture, sometimes likened to the skin of a melon, unlike anything seen elsewhere. This youthful, ever-changing face tells us that Triton is geologically alive, a world where ice flows and refreezes, where the surface is quietly remade, a place far more active and dynamic than its terrible cold and great distance would ever lead us to expect. The 170th fact is that Triton has a thin, delicate atmosphere, chiefly of nitrogen, the same gas that makes up most of the air we breathe on Earth, though on Triton it is vanishingly thin and bitterly cold. Faint hazes and thin clouds of frozen particles drift within it, and the geysers add their dark plumes to the mix. It is one of the few moons in the solar system to have any real atmosphere at all. A fragile, tenuous veil of gas around a frozen world, so thin it would seem a near vacuum to us, yet enough to carry the drifting streaks of the geysers across the pale ice. The 171st fact is that Triton is slowly, gently spiraling inward toward Neptune, drawn a little closer with each passing age by the tides between the moon and its planet. Because it orbits backwards, the tidal forces that would push most moons outward instead draw Triton in. In the far distant future, hundreds of millions of years from now, it may drift so close that Neptune's gravity tears it apart, and from its shattered pieces, Neptune might one day gain a bright new system of rings, far grander than the faint ones it wears today, a distant fate written in the slow arithmetic of the tides. The 172nd fact is that when Triton is finally torn apart, in that far distant future, its shattered remains may spread into a great bright ring around Neptune, perhaps rivaling the glorious rings of Saturn. It is a strange and beautiful thought that the giant moon's ending might give the distant planet a shining new crown. But that day lies hundreds of millions of years ahead, and for now Triton drifts on whole and gleaming, the greatest of Neptune's moons, slowly and gently falling inward across ages far longer than the whole history of life upon the Earth. The 173rd fact is that Triton is large enough and massive enough that it holds nearly all of the mass of Neptune's entire moon system. So much greater is it than all the little moons combined, The other 13 or more moons together weigh only a tiny fraction of Triton alone. It dominates its planet's family utterly. A single great world surrounded by small drifting specks, so that when we speak of the moons of Neptune, we speak, in truth, mostly of Triton, the one remarkable captured giant, and then a scattering of little frozen fragments in the dark around it. The 174th fact is that before the coming of the single spacecraft, we knew of only 2 moons of Neptune, the Great Triton and a smaller, distant one called Nereid, discovered much later. Nereid moves in a wildly stretched-out orbit, swinging far out from Neptune and then back close again, one of the most eccentric paths of any moon. Its strange orbit, too, may be a sign of the same violent past that captured Triton. A disturbance long ago that flung the smaller moons into odd and looping paths, leaving Nereid to trace its long, lonely ellipse around the distant world. The 175th fact is that when the spacecraft flew past Neptune, it discovered 6 more small moons that no one had ever seen, tiny dark worlds orbiting close to the planet, hidden until then in the glare and the dark. These little moons, only tens of kilometers across, move near Neptune and among its rings, shepherding the dust. They had waited, unknown, until a machine from Earth finally drew near enough to glimpse them. Small, quiet companions of the blue giant, revealed at last after ages of hiding, adding to the growing family of moons we know to circle the most distant of the great planets. The 176th fact is that one of Neptune's small inner moons, called Proteus, is nearly as large as a small moon can be while still keeping an irregular, lumpy shape rather than a round one. Just a little more mass and its own gravity would have pulled it into a sphere. Proteus sits right at that boundary, a large, dark, misshapen world, one of the biggest of Neptune's little moons. A curious object, too small to be round yet large for its kind, drifting close to the planet in the dark, its battered surface scarred by ancient impacts across the long ages. The 177th fact is that in more recent years, astronomers using great telescopes on Earth have found still more tiny moons of Neptune, distant little worlds moving in wide, looping orbits far from the planet. These small, faint moons were captured, like Triton, from the surrounding space, and they trace great slow paths around Neptune, some of them backwards. Each new discovery adds to the planet's growing family, so that the count of Neptune's moons has slowly climbed over the decades, and may climb further yet, as ever more careful searches reveal the faint specks circling the distant blue world. The 178th fact is that one of Neptune's more recently discovered small moons, sometimes called Hippocamp, is a truly tiny world, only about 30 kilometers across, orbiting close to the planet near the larger moon Proteus. It is thought to be a fragment, perhaps chipped from Proteus by an ancient impact long ago. So small and so faint is it that it eluded discovery until powerful modern telescopes finally caught its dim glimmer. A little shard of a moon, drifting quietly near its larger parent, one more small piece in the intricate puzzle of Neptune's crowded inner realm. The 179th fact is that the moons of Neptune, taken all together, tell a story of violence and capture long ago, when the giant planet seized the great world Triton and, in doing so, scattered and disrupted whatever original moons it may have had. Triton's arrival, moving backwards, would have thrown the other moons into chaos, flinging some away and leaving others in strange looping paths. And so Neptune's moon family bears the marks of that ancient upheaval, a scattered, disrupted retinue, shaped by the dramatic capture of the one great moon that now rules them all. The 180th fact is that Triton remains one of the most fascinating worlds in the entire solar system, a frozen, active, captured moon that may hold, beneath its icy surface, a hidden ocean of liquid water. For the same tidal warming that stirs its geysers might keep a layer of water from freezing deep within. If so, Triton could be, against all expectation, a possible abode for the ingredients of life, a frozen captured wanderer at the edge of the sun's realm, that yet might cradle a secret sea in its depths, one more quiet mystery waiting in the dark around Neptune. The 181st fact is that only a single spacecraft in all of history has ever visited Neptune, the faithful little probe Voyager 2, which swept past the distant world in August of 1989. After a journey of 12 long years across the solar system, having already passed Jupiter, Saturn, and Uranus, it reached the last and farthest of the great planets. Everything we truly know of Neptune up close comes from that one brief encounter. A single fleeting visit decades ago that remains, to this day, humankind's only close look at the deep blue giant. The 182nd fact is that Voyager 2 reached Neptune in August of 1989, 12 years after leaving the Earth, at the very end of its grand tour of the outer planets. Neptune was the final world on its long itinerary, the last great planet to be seen up close. As the little probe drew near, the distant blue world swelled from a faint point into a glowing sapphire sphere, and for a few precious days, Voyager 2 gazed upon Neptune and its moons and rings, gathering in a brief and priceless harvest of images and measurements before sailing on into the dark. The 183rd fact is that Voyager 2's encounter with Neptune was brief, for the spacecraft was traveling so fast that it swept past the planet in only a matter of days, its closest approach lasting mere hours. In that short window, it had to gather everything, every image, every measurement, working feverishly as the blue world rushed by. There could be no second chance, no slowing down, no return. Only that single swift passage, in which the little probe drank in all it could of Neptune before the planet fell away behind it, dwindling once more into a distant point of light. The 184th fact is that during its flyby, Voyager 2 passed closer to Neptune than to any other planet on its whole long journey, skimming just above the cloud tops of the northern polar region. It flew so near because it needed Neptune's gravity to bend its path downward, toward a close pass by the great moon Triton. This daring low approach let it see the planet in wonderful detail. The fastest winds, the great dark spot, the faint rings, all revealed in that single close sweep, before the little craft was flung onward, down and away, toward its final planetary encounter with Triton. The 185th fact is that it was Voyager 2 that discovered the great dark spot, the faint rings, 6 new moons, and the astonishing geysers of Triton, transforming Neptune in a matter of days from a faint blue dot into a rich and living world. Before that visit, we knew almost nothing of the planet up close. In a single brief encounter, the little probe multiplied our knowledge many times over, revealing storms and moons and rings and winds no one had ever seen. A harvest of discovery so rich that scientists have studied its images and measurements for decades since. The 186th fact is that after sweeping past Neptune, Voyager 2 flew on to make a close pass by the great moon Triton, gazing down upon its strange frozen surface and discovering its dark erupting geysers. Triton was the very last solid world the spacecraft would ever visit, the final port of call on its grand tour of the planets. Beyond it lay only the open dark. And so, having seen Triton, Voyager 2 turned its cameras back for one last look and then sailed onward, outward, into the endless night beyond the last of the sun's great worlds. The 187th fact is that as Voyager 2 left Neptune behind, it turned its cameras back for a final farewell, capturing a gentle image of the blue planet and its great moon Triton as thin crescents, lit from behind by the distant sun. It was a quiet, poignant sight, the last of the great planets dwindling away into the dark. With that parting glance, the spacecraft's tour of the worlds was complete, and Voyager 2 set out upon the endless remainder of its journey, sailing on past the edge of the planets, into the deep interstellar dark, carrying its memories of Neptune into forever. The 188th fact is that it is a humbling truth that, more than 30 years after Voyager 2's brief visit, we have never returned to Neptune, and that single flyby remains our only close encounter with the planet. No spacecraft orbits it. No probe has plunged into its clouds. No mission has gone back to study its storms and moons across the seasons. Nearly everything we know still rests on those few days long ago, a reminder of how vast the distances are, and how much of the distant blue world remains, even now, a beautiful and waiting mystery. The 189th fact is that scientists dream of one day returning to Neptune with a spacecraft that would orbit the planet for years, watching its storms and seasons, studying its rings and moons, and gazing again upon the geysers of Triton. Such a mission has been proposed many times, though the great distance and long journey make it a daunting undertaking. Perhaps in the years to come we shall go back and see once more, and far more fully, the deep blue giant and its strange captured moon, worlds glimpsed only briefly, so very long ago and never since. The 190th fact is that for now, Neptune remains one of the least explored of all the major planets, a distant world we have visited only once and briefly, holding countless secrets we have barely begun to uncover. Its storms, its rings, its hidden ocean, its diamond depths, its captured moon, all await a fuller understanding. There is so much still to learn, so much still hidden in the dark. And there is a quiet wonder in that even in our own solar system, a great world drifts at the edge, patient and mysterious, keeping most of its secrets still. The 191st fact is that Neptune reminds us how vast and how quiet our own solar system truly is, that a whole giant world can drift so far out in the dark that we have seen it up close but a single time in all our history. Beyond it lie the small frozen worlds of the outer belt, and then the true darkness between the stars. Neptune stands at that gentle threshold, the last great planet, the farthest lantern of the sun's family, glowing softly at the edge of everything, a quiet blue sentinel keeping watch over the frontier of the dark. The 192nd fact is that there is something deeply peaceful in the thought of Neptune, turning slowly and silently in the far cold dark, wrapped in its deep blue, wreathed in racing clouds, attended by its quiet moons, so very far from all our noise and hurry. It has drifted there for 4.5 billion years, and will drift there for billions more, whether or not anyone is watching. The distant world simply is, serene and unhurried. A great blue calm at the edge of the solar system, asking nothing, needing nothing, gently turning through the endless night. The 193rd fact is that picture Neptune now in your mind. A deep serene sphere of blue, glowing softly in the blackness, its white clouds drifting slowly, its faint rings shimmering, its pale moon Triton gleaming quietly nearby. There is no hurry there, no noise, only the slow, silent turning of a world at peace in the dark. Let that image settle gently over your thoughts. The calm blue planet, drifting far out in the quiet night, so distant and so tranquil that simply to hold it in the mind is to feel the day's cares begin to soften and fall away. The 194th fact is that far out at the edge of everything the sun still touches, Neptune drifts on through the dark, a deep blue world of wind and silence, patient and eternal, keeping its slow and ancient watch over the frontier of the solar system. It has no need of us and asks nothing of us, and yet there is comfort in knowing it is there, turning gently in the cold, as it always has and always will. Let the thought of it carry you gently now, out past the planets, into the calm and boundless dark, where all is quiet and at peace. The 195th fact is that Neptune took nearly 165 of our years to circle the sun just once. A single slow breath of a world whose rhythms dwarf a human life, and in all that vast, unhurried time, It simply drifted on, serene and untroubled, wrapped in its deep blue calm. There is a gentle lesson in that patience, in the slow, deep peace of so distant a world, that the greatest and most enduring things move gently, without hurry, in their own good time, and that there is nothing at all tonight that you need to rush toward or hold or fear. The 196th fact is that the story of Neptune is, in the end, a quiet story of reaching outward, of a small curious species on a warm blue world learning to find and to know a distant blue giant it could never touch, first by mathematics, then by patient telescopes, and at last by a single brave little spacecraft, we came to know the farthest of the great planets. It is one of the gentler wonders of what we can do, to reach across billions of kilometers of dark, with nothing but thought and patience, and come to love a world we will likely never visit again. The 197th fact is that perhaps the deepest gift of Neptune is not any single fact about it, but the way the thought of it gently widens the mind, filling the dark with a sense of vastness and quiet and peace, to know that far out beyond all the busy inner worlds, a serene blue giant turns slowly in the cold, asking nothing, needing nothing, is to feel the small worries of the day grow smaller still. The night sky becomes a little deeper, a little kinder, and there is room in that vastness to let go of everything you have been holding and simply rest. The 198th fact is that in the long, slow story of Neptune that we have followed tonight, spanning billions of kilometers and billions of years, there is really only one thing asked of you now, here, listening, and that is simply to rest, and to let the calm of that distant world settle gently over you. The blue giant will turn on in the dark for ages beyond counting. Its winds will race, its moons will drift, whether or not anyone watches. And you have nothing at all to hold on to now. Nothing to do but breathe, and soften, and let go. The 199th fact is that as your breathing slows and your thoughts grow soft and dim, imagine yourself drifting gently outward, past the warm inner worlds, past the great ring giants, all the way to the deep blue edge where Neptune turns quietly in the dark. Out there, all is calm and cold and utterly at peace. A serene blue world drifting in an endless, gentle night. There is no hurry there, no fear, no weight of any kind. Only the slow, soft drift among the distant stars, and you may let yourself drift with it now easily into the welcoming dark of sleep. The 200th fact is that long after this night has passed, and long after all our nights have passed, Neptune will still be out there, turning slowly and silently in the far blue dark, wrapped in its deep calm at the very edge of everything the sun still holds. So let your thoughts grow quiet now, and let the last of the day dissolve into the dark, and drift outward softly, toward that serene and distant world, into the calm and endless night. Rest now, sleep well, and thank you for drifting with me beyond the stars.